Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S, and we are here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, and it's episode 16. So as y'all are coming in, we're going to be putting on the logo as well as we're going to be putting in these topics. I got my own life. So as y'all coming in, tell me how y'all feeling, how y'all doing, and what's the word with all of this going on. So come in, family, sit down. What's good? What's going on, Chris? Welcome to What's the Word. So we're gonna give some more time for everybody else to come in. But as y'all coming in, let me know, how are y'all feeling? What's the word? And if you have any other things that you want to talk about, questions that come up, throw them in here. Alright, I have a feeling what's going on, especially right now. So, wouldn't be surprised. Well, most of the convo is going to be about in the first few half, which today's topics, we're going to be speaking on current events. We're going to be speaking on law and order and what does that all mean, and the importance of quality sleep. I just didn't say sleep, I said quality sleep. So those are going to be the three. And if there's any other more, y'all throw them in the comments. Shouts out to Brother Ali and showing your own light. And that's what it's for. It's our hearts. The show song, if you know it, come on, start with me, check it out. What's the word, y'all? What's the word? 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 I got skills galore. Once again, we're back with another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays. This is episode 16. I am your host, A.D.V.I.S. is your brother. And now, like I said, the topics we're getting in for today is current events. We already got a few in the comments. I already see we talking about mostly the election and what's going on with that. We're going to hop into that. And then we also have topic on law and order and what does that all mean. And lastly, we're going to speak on the importance of quality sleep. Quality sleep, okay? So, with that being said, let's start with these current events. Y'all let me know what's going on. I already see Chris up in here letting me know that right now, basically, what's going on with the election and things is that they still counting. Peace and love, Brother Dallas in the building. He's a chairman now, y'all. He a businessman. So right now, they're still counting, which this is from hearsay, and I was looking some stuff up because to be very transparent with y'all, I have not put any of my energy into this election and really kept up with anything at all. It's been me just really hearing by happenstance, and if I happen to be on my computer when I'm looking things up and pops up about the election, but other than that, haven't been giving it my energy. But the one thing that I did want to speak on too, and it seems like it's always a apparent issue that everyone brings up when it comes to to election, as well as when it comes up to voting. And that's this whole idea of the number 270 and the Electoral College, and how that is the magic number to reach to have been elected the president. And as of right now, it's still been a neck and neck with that, but I'm looking, and Biden is at 253 and Trump is at 213 when it comes to those electoral college votes and those different representatives that are there. So that is at least what I'm seeing right now. Everybody else is just really like, bro, get this over with. I'm tired of seeing and all this information. I'm going to be truthful. I'm also in that same realm of like, there's so much on the timeline being talked about it over and over and over and over and over again. And to me, I personally, this doesn't have a major impact on how I'm still moving and focusing on things, because it's gonna be the same thing whether or not either one at this point. Even though we have multiple different choices for people to take, the main two players are always put in the front. But as of right now, it's still battle. I already foresaw too that this was going to be an issue when it came to early voting, going to the polls to vote, and then mail-in ballots. I already had a feeling this was going to be an issue, even though that we've had a lot of those means of voting in the past and before that. Just this year in general, it's even a big more of an issue due to the pandemic. So a lot of that also puts into the worry and the fear, added on top of electing a new head of state or renewing another head of state to continue running the country, which the country's actually really ran in three parts, those three branches of government. And mostly, if you know, with the checks and balances, the POTUS, or the President of the United States, in my perspective, has little to no power when it comes to being able to push laws and bills of that nature. They can do executive orders, but at the end of the day, still between the House and the Senate. So there's been a lot of talk about that too, but mostly right now, that's really where I haven't been when it came to at least keeping information on this, but it's all on the timeline, so it is unavoidable. Let me see. So in Nevada, they're taking their sweet time. Yup. Same last night was my first dive into this whole year. Yeah. The thing is, when it comes to black people, or BIPOC, so black, indigenous people of color, history has shown numerous times that we are still in a perpetual fight, not only for black people still to be able to be seen as human beings, still to have civil rights, but at the same time to have those same liberties and them same rights and privileges to be able to indulge in. And when I mean indulgent, I mean just be, like we talk about equality, we talk about equity. Still a thing that's been going on. So even either or whoever gets in, whether who is going to be the president or whoever, if it becomes locked, where it's literally this is it, no more after this, no other president or anything else, it's just locked due to this whole great lock of things. We should see the clear sign that if something that we've done in the past is still not in our benefit and working, we need to pick a different option. I mean, and it's not a very simple, it is a very difficult option, but it's been brought up a number of times, but it's been strayed away so much, and people say so much that it does become very cliche. But uniting, that's really it. If you look at population wise, like, we outnumber. We have people within our communities that have different skills, have different traits, have different, once again, skills that can be used to build up a community. Whether that means we have doctors, we have holistic doctors, we have dentists, we have construction workers, we have business people, we have a number of different people within a community. And it's very at least been apparent for me for a while that unity is it. If you don't like the choices that you're given, you create your own. But as we're looking at it right now, this is really, of course, the big news heading right now. I mean, other talks too was Trump getting on Twitter, as well as having a conference and talking about how this is a disgrace when it comes to the exercising of the right and the law of, the U.S. Constitution and all this different nature. This is just me paraphrasing. It's not maybe all the way directly correct, but basically he's talking about how, all the voting past the time when the polls and stuff are closed, and how this is in a sense is also cheating due to the fact that a lot of mail-in stuff coming in too. Some of it is just being like, either it's being stuffed or added, or there's just mysterious ones popping up out of nowhere. But he wanted to, freeze and have a recount, which later on, you can get the service to do that. That was the thing that happened back in 2000. With the polls, the machines had an issue with counting, so that was a whole different thing that could be done. But what's good, Chris?
Hey.
Low-key co-host What's the Word Wednesdays. Chris, you tell me, what's the word? What's going on?
I'm like weirdly stressed out and weirdly not stressed out, because I feel you on the whole, like, well, whatever the outcome is, my personal life isn't going to be affected. I'm still going to wake up black. Still going to have my obstacles to overcome. I really, like, and I don't know a better way of saying this. I don't know a more PC way of saying this, but I really think this election, this is for white people right now. This is their thing, because they're all angry at each other for being racist or lacking of racism. So that they're kind of fighting right now. This is their battle. Like, I had to tell my manager today, who is she's Caucasian. She was like really, really stressed. I could like tell that this was like really affecting her. And I'm just like, and I'm like over here chill. So I'm like, maybe I'm not panicking enough, or maybe this just isn't my fight. But I just told her, I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I was like, I can send you some like Negro spirituals, because that's my go-to, and it works for my people, so that's my go-to. Like, I just start humming some old spirituals, and I'm like, we're gonna be fine, because we've been through worse, And she just kind of looked at me and she like laughed, and I was like, that wasn't a joke. I was like,
that was real. Exactly.
I was like, that's not a joke. It's like, that's where I pull my strength from. Like, ancestors guide me, because they wildin' again. But no, this whole thing is interesting. Like, I stayed up a little late last night just to, see any outcomes. Yeah. And half the states started calling it. They're like, nope, we're gonna go to bed and we'll finish counting in the morning. So I give this like whole thing a week and a half. We're not gonna have a president for a week and a half. And if it goes past that, they're going to try to push for like the whole Supreme Court argument. That's just what it's like. The pieces are just lining up for that.
Yeah.
Because each state regulates how they get the ballots differently.
Yeah.
So I voted for the state of California.
Yeah.
Because I don't have my Nevada like license. I'm not registered out here. I'm still registered in California. So I my ballot in. So on my envelope, since it's for the state of California, it said I had 17 days. So your ballot, your mail-in ballot has to be post-dated within 17 days after election day. So they give you up to like 2 weeks to get your vote in the state of California if you mail it, right? Whereas out here in Nevada, if you were mailing your vote in, it had to be mailed in prior to November
Yeah.
3rd. So it's like all varies. And they knew this was going to happen because we're in the middle of a pandemic still. So people are still like learning how to be social again. They don't want to be out in public. Our numbers
Yeah.
are skyrocketing again. So, like, we're not learning anything from this. There's no lesson that we're learning. So, I just feel like this is the season finale of America. This is the season finale. That's how we go out.
I like the way you put that, because I mean, we already have a reality TV star as the
President.
POTUS. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to just the little acronym of it. But yeah, no, to me, like that, going off of what you're speaking on, not only that being like the season finale, but just the way how I even see the name in itself, United States of America. I've always questioned that, due to the fact that we have so many different borders and divisions and different lines and different laws and different regulations within all various different states. So to me, it gets to a point, it's like, where are we truly united versus only, of course, the person who is running this business, which would be the president. But what other things really unite us? It gets to a point where that's why there's a such thing as red state, blue states, and like there's a whole different breakdown of like one state has this, one state has that. So it gets to a point for me. It's just like, okay, how much of this really is true in the sense of the name of United States of America, and how much of this is once again, seems like high school to me. Popularity contest, whoever know the most gets the most votes. When something goes wrong and there's a whole big issue, becomes and the whole idea too of when you're running campaign, when you're running a campaign, you are not trying to bring up valid points about your competition, but there's even a term of mudslinging. So like downplaying and making just like terrible remarks and saying, oh, they did this and did this and did that. And I mean, it just gets to a point where it's just like we're just playing name calling all day. And then these are the people we're using to represent I know for me, that's none of the people in politics is a representative of my own self. I'm a representative of me and what I end up doing. I get there have to be somebody that does take it to a higher level to be able to talk to the higher levels within politics, but at the end of the day, I speak for me. If you're not asking me in particular about something, then it has nothing really to do with me. And no disrespect to the whole idea of voting and everything else, but it's definitely very, very flawed, and it's been very one-sided from its inception. Due to, of course, you can go back into the beginnings of this nation and what the Constitution and what the Declaration all ends up encompassing, and a lot of that later on had to end up being written in for other people in the United States, but still you have people fighting for those rights and fighting to be able to do those certain things. And as you've been able to vote, been able to live, desegregate, and all of that going on. A lot of these different institutions and things that we use to help us or to be a part of, this place, we end up seeing a diminishment of how impactful it can be. So that's literally exactly how I end up viewing it and seeing it is that once you join a part of the game, they have to rig it in a way that it's still beneficial for them to play, because they can't play on an equal playing field because there's a high chance of losing. Showing youngins how to stop, but another one is shot while they riding down the block. So all I'm saying is this game is rigged.
No, I mean, I feel you. I mean, offense, I didn't want to vote this year. I voted last year, but I voted for Green Party because I didn't feel right. I was gonna vote red or blue, and I was like, I'm registered as so. But this time it looked like as we saw last time from people not voting, like caused a huge gap. It caused a huge gap. So we realistically, I don't want to vote this year. To vote for Joe Biden, but I had to surrender to the reality that at the moment, at this time, it is a partisan game. It shouldn't be, and I could be mad about it all I want, but that doesn't take away from the fact that right now, like in terms of the stakes, right now it's there. It's at a bipartisan like thing. So I could do what I did last year and vote irrelevant or not vote at all, but then I wouldn't really be helping the masses. Is going off to two parties, and it's oh my god, it's just so stressful. So I said, I just gotta pick the lesson, and hopefully by the next 4 years, hopefully I go to another country. We'll see. Other countries are giving away citizenship because of what's going on right now. Funny. They're like, yeah, you can take refuge here. You can take refuge here. Come on over, you poor American.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Catch back up.
Sorry, it doesn't make sense to me. We have really good, like, wow.
Yeah, not
to
me.
think that, like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Is looping again. It's looping again on this. But I hear that. That's at the end of the day, when it comes to whether you play into this game or you don't, you vote or you don't, you wear a mask or you don't wear a mask. I mean, ultimately, you have the decision. You're gonna know the outcomes and what the effects are. So you have that point, and you have that idea that it's not just about the action and the choice that you take in that moment. It's going to be what you do after that. So it's cool. Like we definitely go out and we vote. All right, but what are we gonna do after that? Are we gonna just go back to just sitting down, just waiting for everything to be enacted? Or are we gonna still be on the forefront pushing to make sure and keeping those politicians, mayors, and everybody else accountable for their actions and what they said they're gonna do? So my whole thing is follow through. So if we're gonna vote, follow through. Don't just stop at I voted, get the sticker, be happy. Follow through. Let me know what you're doing after that. because at least in my perspective, when it comes to this whole idea and this illusion of voting, I call it an illusion because of the fact that we trick ourselves into thinking that once we vote, that is the greatest thing we can end up doing. And in that aspect, and shouts out to the brother Huey P in the building. In that aspect, we trap ourselves. We trap ourselves into thinking that we've done the utmost to do our part. We be like, yeah, I did my part. All right, did you do yours? Honestly, that's not even a fraction of your part. That's at least an affirmation to say, yes, I'm going to do my part. Now let me get to doing it. It's like, okay, vote, cool. Now follow up. What you gonna do after that? I don't need you gonna sit back down and then complain about nothing happened. I want you to vote. Know what you voted for. Make sure that those folks that you voted for are pushing what they said they're pushing, and you stay up on them. The whole thing is that the system does not add in the accountability. And then that's what we get lost as an illusion because of the fact that there's no accountability in it. You think you're already accountable because you made the vote. No, you have to keep pushing forward with that. It's with any other job or any other thing that you do. You can create a song, you create a book, you write the book, okay. But what you gonna do after that? You wrote the book, but how the book gonna get out? You gotta put it on Amazon. You gotta get it out to end up people getting it to shelves, get it at the Barnes and Nobles. I know there's no more borders, or there are a few borders, but literally you have to push the action after that to be able to do so. So for me, when it comes to this voting mess and everything, we're very disorganized. That's the main thing. It's so disorganized the way that we approach it. So that's why for me, I find it as a big, very illusion in my perspective, is because we're very disorganized. Because we can literally, if we knew how to use the tools within this game to play it properly, we would have so many more bargaining chips and be able to work things out. But the thing is, we get pushed into the point that, like, if we don't do this, you're unpatriotic, or we basically bully and fearmonger our own selves while we're doing a lot of this. So that's where, at least for me, and that's why I know people get mad, oh, why you didn't vote? You got to get him such out. Is we're so disorganized. Even if I did my vote and I'm like, okay, who are you voting for? And then they'll be like, well, no, I'm voting for this. And I'll be like, okay, I'm going to vote with you. They'll be like, no, like, make sure you vote for yourself. Don't vote because I'm voting that person. Vote because you want to vote that person. And my whole thing is like, that's all cool and well. You want us to have this illusion of autonomy. But the thing is, are we going to be all collectively voted for that same person? I don't want 1, 2 voting for this and then 5, 6 voting for that. Then that means it's literally like, okay, then what are we really voting, not voting for, but how are we really playing this game correctly? But I mean, that's at least my spiel with all of that there. I can stop with it. There's much more with it, but it can be valuable. But the way we play it now, it is not.
Can I just call it what it is, Calvin?
Please do.
Can I just call it? It's laziness. We lazy. I just been looking.
Oh yeah.
I've been living in this rural state for a year now. We lazy. It is. Nobody wants to work. Gotten comfortable. I don't have to do this. I don't have. That's why it's taking so long for them to count the ballots. We lazy. We're taking our sweet time. We lazy.
And
Hard work.
the
hard work is too much for us now. I don't know what
I will add this on top of that. But this is not to be used as an excuse. The reason why too we are the way that we are because we are very stretched thin. Every aspect is either I'm worrying about bills, I'm worrying about the economy, I'm worrying about if I'm going to keep my job, I'm worrying about my family, I'm worrying about my friends, I'm worrying about my community. And it just gets to a point where it's like when you do one simple thing, you think that's it because, well, now I got to get back to all these other things. So I get that is a perspective, but to me, that's still not an excuse. But I bring that to the awareness of like that's
That's
the reason
huge.
why people will just be like, I voted and I did my part. Is because they're like, now that was a priority for a quick second, but now I got to get back to figuring out where I'm gonna get this money for the house note, or how am I gonna feed my kids for this next day. It's not gonna be okay after I voted. Now let
Yep.
me make sure and call in and email my officials and make sure they know who I am, and make sure that when they do get in office or whenever they do what they do, that if they're not, they're gonna be seeing me at their front door. Like that's once again, that's too much work. But that's
Accountability. Yep.
that's what happens.
Yeah. Comfortable with the way things are. Too much comfortability.
Instagram is not liking you
Uncomfortability.
right now.
Yep. Oh,
Yep.
it's not liking me because it's clear. All
right, cool. You
for
back.
the most part.
But do you have anything else you want to add? You wanted to add to this whole election fiasco?
I mean, I found a lot of elements funny last night. Like I watched all of the speeches, and the main attraction I mean, it was just hilarious. It's how we just are so lazy and we're so comfortable. We will just accept someone who will come on TV and just lie blatantly to us and just take it as like, yep. It's astonishing. Like what? That's all. This has just been entertaining for me. The last 24 hours has just been funny.
Which me now, you saying all of that, now it comes to this second part of the topic too of law and order.
Yep.
And how that all plays into not only what's going on around us, but how people conduct themselves. And the cool thing that I've been getting to study too, side note, I've been doing a little research and watching a lot of the origins of the English language. And I've come to know a lot more of how the English language is actually broken down, not only regionally, but when it comes to the pie chart of percentages. It lets me know particularly what different languages are all combined together to create the English language. Getting to my point, when it comes to law and order, liberty, justice, balance, and a lot of these other different words, a lot of them come from French. So it's very interesting when I was looking into that. And I mean, I still got to do a lot more of that. But just knowing that a lot of these words that we use when it comes to law, order, and stuff, they're based off of French. You know, French, not only ideologies, but just in the culture in itself that we've used these words. So when we think of law and order, I'm looking at it from the aspect of what we use to pattern our society and what we instill in our society when it comes to creating different laws and regulations of things, and how we keep that order. As well as I also see it from the aspect of natural law and natural order, which, you know, me and you spoke about that a number of times when I sent you the book, the Kabbalion, and those different principles. So, like in those particular cases, those are at least the two ways I'm looking at law and order. I know there's even more that we can look at and dissect, but when it comes to law and order in our
with like the Kabbalion. Oh, I'm on chapter 12.
You on chapter what? Yep. You on chapter 12? Come back in here. Come back. Are you back? jump back in.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope. You're on chapter 12. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, there's a book called The Kabbalion, which is by the three initiates. The three initiates, and basically speaks on 7 different hermetic principles that are natural laws of not only just of nature, but just in general of this universe. But if y'all look into that, The Kabbalion is by the 3 initiates. I can give you at least 4 off the top of my head, which is the principle of correspondence, which is as above, so below. You have the principle of rhythm, which basically, as in, it's going back in this fourth of a rhythm, and there's a way for you to be able to not only stop but go with the flow of the rhythm. You also have the principle of vibration, and then you have the principle of polarity, which is learning about the differences of how opposites are actually within on that same frame or that same line, and it changes depending on its degrees. And then another one I'll just say too, another one I know is also the principle of gender, and speaking on how a lot of things that we speak on is not in a sense of a physical gender, but more so speaking of it from how Chris has put it before. We have the left and right brain when it comes to those different feminine, masculine identities or traits. But other than that, when it comes to law and order in our in the U.S., we base a lot of that off of not only the Constitution, but we have our amendments and we have our state-run laws as well too, governmental, all of that's there. And the way a lot of these laws are written too, and how I see it, there's a lot of it for there's where people, that's why there's lawyers. You can literally find loopholes within these laws to be able to figure it out. So for me, a lot of these laws, in a way of what we think of what a law should be, especially in science, it changes, it gets amended, it gets all of that. So in the case for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's truly a law. Is more so I see that in science as a theory, because things always keep on changing and there's ways that you can move around and change it, when a law in itself actually is what it is. It's unchangeable when you think of it from at least a scientific aspect. Hey Janet, what's up? Welcome to What's the Word Wednesdays. We in here.
Like the law of gravity.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
so
the law of
that's
gravity.
So that's why I'm using at least that comparison. You can say if that's not, those are not really good comparisons, but that's just me breaking down at least where it comes from, the word at least law can be applied. And also when you think of when we're using the law, you see that once again I brought up how a lot of it is we go to the justice system and the judicial system, and how a lot of things under the law, depending on your pigment, is either going to be you get the book, or this is the loophole that we're going to use to show that you are still working within under the law and you did not necessarily break it. So it just shows me that even within the law and order, it's only used at someone's convenience to show that they've been doing something lawfully. Yeah, just because they're law doesn't mean they're right. Exactly. Very true, Jenny. Exactly. I mean, and that's what I'm speaking on. That's why I was saying earlier about how, to me, in a scientific way, that law is something that literally
polarity
is unchangeable. Woo! Hey, it is the legend himself, Joe Bruce, in the building, Water Bearer Music. So, welcome, bro. But when we think about a lot of the law and order and how that applies to a lot of us, we see how it's disenfranchised a lot of groups of people, and how you get different statistics of certain groups: Black, white, Hispanic, or should say Latino, Latinx, Asian, etc. And you see different statistics when it comes to different either crimes or different laws and how they're regulated. And you seem to see why there's a certain group of people that are face of certain laws and orders
Yep.
versus other groups. It's because
Yep.
it's definitely unbalanced. They say justice is blind. Like,
Yeah. Right.
are
She
you
be
sure
peeking,
justice is blind? I have a feeling that the way how
peeking
justice
through.
is working, justice
Mm-hmm.
is able to see perfectly
She
who,
like this.
and it
She
and
like
they and justice is very very not what's it called? It's definitely not objective. It's very subjective. It depends
subjective.
on
Yeah.
who.
It's yep. It's situational. Yep. Yep. Yep.
It very much is, and I feel we also use those terms very loosely a lot too, subjective and objective, and knowing that honestly, as human beings,
Mm-hmm.
in my perspective, we can never be truly objective.
Yeah,
We
that's
can
true.
never be truly objective. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
why is because every time that we speak on a perspective of our own, or we even
Mm-hmm.
talk, we're
It's
speaking
all
from our own
subjective.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be, if not a great majority of it's going to be subjective. It'll
Subjective.
be
Yes.
objective. It'll be objective in a point where, I mean, you might not know. Say once again, I'm using the example of saying, like, if you're going to a restaurant or you're going, maybe out to a trip
Text.
somewhere, and is it textbooks? Yes. Um,
Yeah.
but you're going out on a trip, and
Mm-hmm.
you have no idea, of course, where and how that's gonna go and how it's gonna look. Right there, you'll have an objective understanding to be like, either this trip can go good or bad because of the fact that you've never been on it. So that will make sense in that particular case. It'll be objective. But for you to gain that perspective, you go and you look at other people's perspectives or their experiences of going to this particular place on this trip, and they're like, yes, this was a great trip. I was able to go to the Bahamas, and I was able to stay at this inn, stay at this hotel, went on this trip,
Yo,
and I highly recommend it. Let's
five
see.
stars.
Oh, she going in. They're not facts. That's some dude's interpretation. Exactly. At the end of the day, the brother Talib Kweli always stated, it's like, you can have your own opinions, but not your own facts. Like,
Mm,
to me,
that's
that I mean, even though we say facts after somebody says something that we agree with, we say
mm,
facts. I mean, in the long run, is it
no.
really a fact? It's more so like, yes, you know that your truth, or what you think of is your truth, is not a universal truth. It's your
Right.
truth for a reason.
Right. Right.
But if it corresponds with somebody else, then it becomes our truth. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, there's still,
Not a
it's not an
fact.
absolute truth. So when we're thinking of this whole thing with law and order, you have to be very careful of how you not only define it, but how you use it, and in which way are you going to interpret it. Because I can talk about a lot of laws within California that not saying don't make sense. I can look them up. I don't know them off the top of my head. That don't make
Mm-hmm.
sense. And you can say that is going against even some of the things within the Constitution, taking away people's rights. But you
Right. Right.
have to argue the fact of how is that really truly taken away from somebody's rights. Like, one
Right.
thing in this, I
Right.
can say this one particular bill or act
Mm-hmm.
is still active right now, because I think it was reenacted either during Obama's second term, or just when Trump was coming back in, or 45th, or however people want to say it. But the whole thing of the Patriot Act, if y'all
Yes.
don't know,
Yes.
look up the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
about.
whole thing with that too ends up,
Yeah.
honestly, if you really think about it, it infringes on some of our supposed constitutional rights.
Right.
It's like, especially your
Yeah.
rights to privacy. With
Mm-hmm.
the Patriot Act, you literally are giving away your privacy for not only the CIA or the FBI, just government and police within your
And
area, to
all of
be
them.
able to be all up in your business, be able
Mm-hmm.
to map out and keep, track of all that's going on if you are deemed as a threat to the United States. So literally, you wonder why sometimes you'll get calls on your phone and nobody's on the other side. It's just not only telemarketers from different countries trying to call. That's literally also to the government checking. Your phones is tapped, wires is tapped, all of that. So
Yep.
when it comes to, like, again, coming back, law and order, you have to be very specific of when you're speaking on it, what you're talking about, and how it's wanted to be used. Because once again, I go into the fact of now, and you can let me know, Chris, and every other time you want to speak on it too. But now I'm gonna go into the fact more so of the universal laws and the natural laws, and how a lot of that's unchanging, and how that actually is more in tune with us as beings versus what man-made things create. That's why we have isms. All these isms create even more isms and more problems, rather versus a lot of the natural laws and universal laws that we have around us help us to identify and really connect with what's around us in a very more so not harmonious but in unison, because of we are learning about what is needed and what's our part to play. So when I speak of literally talking about gravity, I mean we speak of ended up like the laws, more like we were speaking on earlier, talking about those hermetic principles and how as above so below. Right. How we always talk about karma, the law of cause and effect.
Oh, yeah.
How your particular action that you put out, there's going to be the same reaction that comes back. And that's the thing that's proven. If you want to end up looking and seeing that scientific, like in a scientific method, whatever is set up, that's something that's going to be unchanging. It's because if I end up going and I decide I want to end up pushing somebody down, I already know 100% of the time
they're gonna put you down.
Yeah, either they're gonna put me down or something's going to happen. They're just not gonna just lay there and just be like, oh cool, I got pushed. All right, I'm gonna chill. Like even in that fact, they're still doing something. So you know that literally anything that you end up doing, there's going to be that reaction. So that in itself, that's why I like it as in a law, because that's something that you can't disprove that. But when it comes to all the laws that have been man-made, you can have loopholes around them. You can disprove them, and then you have to amend them. So.
Woo.
When it comes to law, I know I'm just like, and I keep going back and forth. I'm saying when it comes to that, but be careful how you use law and order, and honestly, use it to your benefit and how you want it to work. And what? Okay, I'm just looking at these updates, y'all, and this thing is acting weird. Like, man, I don't need to worry about this Joe Biden stuff.
I have an update. So my family in California is informing me about a shooting that has happened out here in my town that I don't even know about. There was a police involved shooting in Henderson. She said, "Are you okay and safe?" This is my first time hearing of this. I'm like, I find it so funny when I get news about what's happening out here from like my friends and family from California. It's so funny. I'm just like, oh, I was unaware.
Wow. Yeah, it's very crazy like this, and but this is what I will do, because for the after show we still gonna dig into this. We still gonna dig a little deeper into this, especially with not only what this is going on with, but also speaking more on law, order, and stuff. But I want to move to this next topic and this last topic. If anybody else have any other stuff, please throw them in the comments. This is all about community and us being able to speak, not only our perspectives, but get even a higher understanding of stuff. But last topic, which because of the fact people are very fearful and very anxious and all of this, we need to talk about this. The importance of
Exactly.
quality sleep. We need to
Yep.
talk about this. And
I did not get quality sleep last night.
I slept pretty well. I like I told you, I didn't give my energy to all of this, nonsense that's going
Well,
on. But
I was under the influence and it became a comedy show. So it became all comedy. like a 3-4 hour stand up special. So I didn't go to bed until around 2 a.m.
the Kings of Comedy Part 2,
Yeah. The white
terrible.
edition though. It was
Yeah,
it was
the
less
White
it
House.
was less funny,
Yeah,
but but it was so funny.
yeah, Janet,
Oh
we're
my
a
god.
joke. We're for sure a joke. But this is
Yo,
what I
yeah,
wanna.
we're done.
This is what I will add on that. When I speak about quality sleep, there's a few things that go into that you will need to know about, or if not know about, you'll
Yeah.
have to look it up. But when it comes to getting the quality sleep, there's a few things you need to know, whether when it comes to what a circadian rhythm is, what
Mm.
REM is,
Mm-hmm.
and what which I get this information from a book too, what we call money time or
What's money
power
time?
hours, however you want to call that,
Oh, power hours. Yeah, power
as
napping.
well as
Mm-hmm.
you know setting your environment up to be beneficial. So
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff I got because I read a book, which is a really good book. I recommend it. It's by the author Sean Stevenson, and it is
Sean Steve.
called Sleep. Sleep Better. And there's
Sleep better.
21 different strategies that
Uh-huh.
help you to optimize, sleeping better. And
Okay.
not more so sleeping more, but more so like I
But
come back to
like
talk
fish.
about the quality of how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think of, once again, I said the circadian rhythm, and what is that? The circadian
Mm-hmm.
rhythm, actually, it is an interval in between when you're sleeping. There's a 90-minute interval of basically a cycle of sleep that you get uninterrupted. This is not you getting up, need to go use the restroom, go get some water or anything else. But this is 90 minutes of uninterrupted sleep. Is a part of that circadian rhythm, which is how our bodies optimally sleep throughout the 24 hours or however we have it within a day. It's recommended that you get
Gotcha.
at least 4 to 5 cycles of uninterrupted sleep of those intervals. So 4 of those cycles would be 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
5 would be 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Anything over that, it's oversleeping.
Interesting.
But once again, you have to. This is another thing too. You gotta listen to your body. You know what your body needs and what works best for you. But in
Yeah.
between those, to really optimize your sleep, at least 4 to 5 cycles of uninterrupted sleep in those 90 minutes is at least that it is a part of that key to having quality sleep. Second thing with that is when I spoke on earlier about, and in age, yes, age can have an effect too. We have different variables, but like I said, this is all different types of tips and strategies. I'm not gonna go through every single one of them. Like I said, I recommend the book by Sean Stevenson, which is Sleep Better. Like there's 21 different strategies. You put his name in, you'll find it. But the second thing of money time, or I was calling it power hours. But
Mm-hmm.
there's been studies done. I'm not gonna name studies. I'm not over here being I'm right on here. The studies got my tickets, receipts police right now. But there's been a study that's shown that between, at least in his book, because then I also looked it up too, between the hours of 10 to 2
Mm-hmm.
those hours are very optimal for your sleeping, and it actually adds more on top of it. So it's almost like if you get double the amount of rest within those time frames of hours. I've looked at other studies and they've said between 8 and 12, but just know when literally you look outside and you want to naturally connect, when you see that the sun is gone and it's dark outside, within at least 3 hours of it being dark, that's an optimal time to go ahead and go to sleep. So, and it's usually between that range, which is between 8 to 12 or 10 to 2. But if you get in between those hours, it's more of a rejuvenative rest for you. And you can notice it the more you implement it and stuff of that nature. And then there's other tips within the book that talks about, of course, cutting out coffee at a certain amount of time because coffee lingers later on. If you're going to do it super early, this is a certain amount you need to drink. But once again, certain amount only is depending on who. I know. There's not like, this is all like, so when we think of stuff too, even within health, all recommended. Yeah. It's not required, recommended. But the thing is, you have to find if it works for you or not. But yeah, cutting out fat, optimizing your room for sleep. So basically within the heat or how the room temperature is, blacking out your room to optimize your sleep, turning off electronics within an hour or an hour and a half before you sleep to optimize. There's so many more I can go on about, but it's very vital that we do, because when we are sleep deprived, which in the book it speaks on too, we have it has an effect on our mental functioning and how we show up at different places. So literally you got people stressing out about voting, all this other stuff. Some people might end up checking and doing something that they didn't want to end up doing, and they just end up really stressing themselves out even more because did I end up doing this right, wrong, right, versus really getting that rest and being able to come back refreshed, ready to go on that mission, whatever you end up doing. But I know right now during these days and times with what's been going on, that's what's been lacking too. And I feel that has a great effect on why a lot of people are protested, rioting, feeling these different emotions and different, anxieties on stuff, is because of the fact that we're lacking sleep. Yeah, we're lacking sleep pretty bad. It is not. I'm not saying it's the major big thing, but it's definitely a contributing factor for sure.
Oh, definitely. I noticed I get all like jittery when I don't get good sleep.
Exactly. Chris, did you have anything you wanted to speak on that? Because I'm gonna, like, another 3 minutes is gonna end up knocking us out.
No, I think you covered everything. Like, it's what we need to hear at, like, it's on time. It's a discussion that needs to be had, and I'm just here vibing, keep dropping the bars.
I'm building off of you too, so just know it's just not only me. I'm also getting this from you too, so I always appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone that's here. Those watching now and those who will watch this later. So just know, shouts out to y'all too.
And it looks like it was a 12-year-old boy.
That was the update from what happened in Henderson, y'all.
In Henderson, it's like 4 dead, including the suspect and a 12-year-old boy. Ew. I wonder what part, because I live in the old part, and then near Stephanie. Oh, okay, so that's somewhere over here. That's close by.
Henderson, Stephanie, Rochelle. I'm just playing. There's all these names. All these names. Robert.
No, like every after a name. Yeah. Everything is named after a name.
Oh my goodness. But in this particular case,
the other side of town, they have like the more like Native American, like awesome kind of names, like Crystal Clear Boulevard, or they have like what was today, Whispering Tree Avenue. They have those kind of names.
Wow.
For sure.
Are you good? You good, Janet? Yeah, you can. Yeah, we gonna be back anyways for the after show. But
After show.
with that being said, y'all, to sum and put everything up together, just know with a lot of this going on with the election, just know at the end of the day, you still need to be your own change. And even if you did take that initiative to go vote and to make that choice or decision, whatever it was, just know that that's the start. Now you got to do the work after that. Follow up. Don't just
Yep.
stop there. And then when it comes to law and order, just know how and what a law is and what order is in the aspect of United States and where we live, and how that goes in comparison to natural laws and scientific laws that can not change. And you see those differences. Yeah. And then when it comes to quality of sleep, y'all, get y'all sleep. Get y'all sleep. Listen to your body. If your body's ready to go knock out, don't get back up on the computer and start looking at something. Unless if you got to do it for your job or whatever it may be, I recommend getting there's some glasses that do. There's like red whatever glasses. There's different apps. There's a app I use on my laptop, or I've heard of, is Flux. You can use Flux that helps to dimming all that blue light so it doesn't end up affecting, the chemical that's used at night, which is melatonin, which is helping you to go to sleep. And with the blue light, it destroys a lot of that. So just using those different tips and stuff to get your quality sleep, get in those at least 4 to 5 cycles of 90 minutes of uninterrupted sleep to really help yourself feel well, and doing it in between those hours, either between 8 to 12 or 10 to 2. I mostly go with 10 to 2, but within those hours to really promote more great sleep and quality sleep, and doing that on a consistent basis so that you can come back, be refreshed and ready to go. Other than that, y'all, this has been another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, episode 16. I've been your host, A.D.V.I.S. You got your co-host, Miss Chris, and we will see you next time. We appreciate y'all. One love, and we're out.